Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft 2 video. For this one I'm going to show you a build order tutorial. This is a tutorial for how to go a greedy turtle opener versus Protoss. So no aggression, we're going to be greedy, we're going to tech up fast, we're going to expand really quickly. And this is a playstyle which shouldn't work versus Protoss, and in the past it hasn't. My win rate always has been around 30% doing this sort of style, but on this particular map, Cyberforce, it has some unique features which allow it to work. And by work, I mean my win rate is over 60%. And now that I have it completely refined, my last 12 games have been 10-2 in terms of win rate. This is as a Masters 3 player. And the unique feature of Cyberforest is that it has a one entrance to your natural. That entrance is a ramp, and that entrance can be walled off with three structures, one of them being a 2x2 structure. And I don't think this has existed in the ladder in years, probably. So very defensive setup to this natural base. And in fact, the only pro I've seen take advantage of this is probably Parting. He opened one gate expand versus SOS, who opened two gates, and he took 0 damage because of this solid wall you're able to create. Allowed him to go into the mid game with a solid lead, and then completely throw that lead because SOS is better, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so this build is going to be a command center first. We're only going to be producing from one factory. We're not going to be dying to any cheese, and we're taking a super fast third. So that is how we are able to get into the mid game in a very good position. So let's go ahead and talk about this build. So right at the start of the game, you're going to be able to build a supply depot, obviously, but unlike a typical game, you got to send out an SCV before your first one completes, because he's not building it at your ramp. He's building it all the way at the far corner of your natural ramp. And it's important that you put it at the far corner. If you put the depot in this corner, you won't be able to create the 3 structure wall off. It's just because of the way it's shaped. So if you spawn in the north, the depot must be placed here, not here. Here. After the supply depot, we're going immediately into a command center. What I prefer to do is steal some minerals from my third and head back because I got a little bit of time before I can afford that command center. That does like a few things. It might catch some sneaky early pylon on the low ground tier. Say if he's going for a shield battery, void ray, cheese or something. He puts minerals in the SCV's hands, and it typically dodges this first probe scout, assuming he does the early probe scout timing. So now, Protoss will come to my base, and he might even be freaking out, because he hasn't seen a barracks, and he's like, uh-oh, here comes the proxy. So he's actually not going to be taking his Nexus super quickly, at least not until he knows that I've expanded. Now that he's on the low ground, he does see the command center is placed. Right after the command center, I build a barracks. The second SCV was just to chase this probe because I assumed he was going to harass this SCV here. He didn't. Yeah, and then after your barracks, we are going for a double gas. We're going to be putting 2 SCVs on each gas geyser, not 3. And that's because we're going to be a little bit mineral starved with this, and it's also because the third SCV is not as efficient as the first 2. We do want the gas for a quick factory, but since there's so many other things we have to buy after the barracks as well. Yeah, it's 3 on this patch, it's bothering me. It's okay that we're not going maximum gas intake. As soon as the barracks completes, you want to immediately build a bunker and a marine. Because there are proxy gates as a thing, and we have a late barracks, so it's important to finish this wall immediately, because the proxy zealot, for instance, could be arriving more or less now, well, maybe in like 5 seconds from now, but that's not really a thing. What is a thing is proxy gate stalker, and that will be arriving just before this bunker finishes. So you want to get it close to finished as possible. After the bunker and marine, we're going double orbital. And after the double orbital, we will be getting our factory immediately. You're going to notice some weird things going on at this front. I'm going to talk about that after I discuss the build order. So just keep in mind all this has a reason, and it's not telling you yet. So second bunker comes down after your factory. Don't worry about it. It makes sense. It's not because it's not bronze science or anything like that. With the factory, as soon as it completes tech lab, as soon as the tech lab is complete, non-stop siege tank production. Going up to 4 Marines just to fill a bunker. As soon as this second bunker is done, we're going to transfer the Marines in there, salvage the bunker on the ramp, and replace it with an engineering bay. Starting the tech lab on the factory. Also good mental timing to start your next supply depot at that time. And yeah, as soon as that tech lab is done, we're starting a siege tank. As soon as this engineering bay is done, we're immediately building a turret ring. Might seem very weird to build a turret ring this early into the game, even for a turtle style. But since we're only producing off of one factory, to stay alive, we need missile turrets. This is something that will be useful throughout the entire game, so it's not that bad of an investment. But since we're being so greedy on both the expansions and the tech, this is definitely okay to have like one necessity to get all that stuff out and not die. Your first couple siege tanks, you just want to defend the ramp. So somewhere, say like here, maybe somewhere where the bunker covers it in case an oracle or comes in. You don't want to be able to snipe this siege tank. And the reason for this turret ring is obviously because of the oracle or the warp prism. You want to be able to deny that. In fact, speak of the devil, there is a warp prism and there it is getting denied. We did forget one missile turret though, so there is an opening here. I realized I forgot it, so we're going to send over these Marines as a makeshift missile turret, because I'm a little bit scared. But yeah, he decides just to go home and give up on that, drop harass. Make sure one of your missile turrets has vision on your front entrance, just in case of DT shenanigans. Once your turret ring is done, I guess I should back up a little bit, following that war prism instead of following the build order. All right, once you've placed that turret ring, you want to get 2 command centers. You can start them around the same time, so send out 2 SCVs with like 700 minerals. Again, non-stop siege tank production. This gap is not good. And once you have started those 2 command centers, we're going to populate all our gas. So at this point, we're going to go from 2 of 3 and up to 3 of 3 on these 2 gas geysers. And we're going to take the refineries at our natural. This is the point where you want to start adding on production as well. Now, I'm going to leave that up to you a bit. I don't know if you want to go into like mech or battle cruisers or whatever. I like to go into my Mass Raven memes. It's a very powerful playstyle, which I can cover later in this video, but it's not really part of this build order, right? This build order is all about getting a really fast 3-base turtle going on Cyber Forest LE, with the command center first. Once these command centers complete, we are going to be sending them out to take our 3rd and to planetary our natural. Also kind of weird, but again, we don't have an army. And I can discuss more about the various things will be facing us in a moment. But basically, at some point, it's going to get to the point where a bunker and a couple siege tanks aren't going to hold for you against what Protoss can muster up. So we should have 3 or 4 siege tanks by now. I stopped at 3 because I wasn't seeing anything out of my opponent. I didn't feel like aggression was coming. But yeah, 3 siege tanks are going to move 2 of them forward so they cover this whole area here. We're going to move 1 to the high ground here, so if an attack comes in down this ramp or through this ramp, it can cover this portion here. You can see, say his army set up like this, there's something that the siege tank will be able to shoot at all times. How'd I got in a 4 siege tank? I think right here is the perfect position. Allows you to shoot everything in this area, which is great. I guess even everything like this area. And it's, even though it's a little more exposed being on the low ground, if he tries to dive on it, it's covered by all 3 of your siege tanks. So say he blinked all of his stalkers forward to kill the siege tank, he's going to lose every single stalker in the process. The bunker gets empty. These 4 Marines kind of rally back and forth to defend both areas, or patrol back and forth, I should say. There's our low ground planetary. And here is our high ground planetary. And as you can see, we have our 3rd base down at the 6-minute mark. We have tons of SCVs. We're up to 50 SCVs, which is probably more than typically possible since we were in Command Center first. And yeah, and we got a nice setup. We got 3 or 4 siege tanks covering 2 entrances. Both of them have a planetary. One is planetary in a wall, and one is planetary on its own. Very strong. Let's go back and talk about all the different things that can hit you in terms of cheese or aggression. So like I said, Proxy Stalker is probably the most likely first thing you'll face. Or maybe a Zealot coming from his main base. Both of them will arrive right before your first bunker finishes, which is, say, about now. You'll have 1 Marine, which can soak up 1 or 2 hits from the Stalker. Obviously, you don't want to lose the Marine, though. And the goal is just to finish this bunker. Once you finish this bunker, his Proxy Gate Stalker aggression is completely over. Because you can put the Marine in the bunker, and then he can't even pick away at your wall, because to pick away at your wall, he needs high ground vision. To get high ground vision, he has to go into bunker range. He may be able to pick off 1 or 2 SCVs, but if you micro well, you'll often get 0, because he can't chase down these SCVs. Once these SCVs move out of range of the ramp, he is walled into that area. If it's multiple gateway units, it doesn't really matter, right? Whether he has just 1 stalker here, or whether he has 2 stalkers in the Zealot, or whether he has 4 adepts, all those things can't bust through a bunker with repair, so you're perfectly fine. Second bunker completes, and that's for a few reasons. One is, the main reason is he can't have a bunker as part of the wall forever. Say he went 4 gates or 4 gate robo or 3 gate robo all in, one of those variations, and just kind of plowed up the front with lots of gateway units, maybe immortals, maybe sentries to force field your repair. You're going to be in a lot of trouble having a bunker as part of the ramp, even with 1 siege tank behind. I mean, it's just 4 Marines and a siege tank versus a Protoss all in. You're not going to be looking good. So the reason why you don't want bunker as part of the wall, you can see we only have maybe 50% of the surface area available to repair. So with a couple force fields, you're kind of screwed. You'll only have like 1 or 2 SCVs repairing. We have close to 50% of the surface of it, area available for Zealots to attack. None of that's good. So if we take that off of the wall and move it back, you can see how all that changes. Now we got like 85% surface area available for repair. So even if he gets off a couple force fields, you can still find areas to get the SCVs repairing on it. It's immune to Zealots now, because Zealots have to break through the wall first. And even his range units, his adepts, his stalkers, his immortals, rather than like everything at the bottom of the ramp being able to shoot the bunker, now he has to actually move further up the ramp to get range on this bunker. And everything that's further down the ramp is either going to be dancing around, trying to get in range and unable to, or they're going to be shooting at the wall, which is kind of like wasted damage at this point. So that's why we move that down there. And we want to move it down there as soon as we can, because we want to get this engineering bay up in its place as soon as we can, so that we have the tech available for missile turrets as soon as we can. Because it's a very tight timing. The Warp Prism or the Oracle will be arriving very soon. So you really need to start those missile turrets the instant those engineering bays are done. You can kind of cheat them to the main base because he almost never comes in the natural first. I mean, he might, but it doesn't seem likely. Almost always a Warp Prism will come in here or try to ferry up units where the low ground touches the high ground here. And Oracle will almost always come in this direction as well. So that is the point of this defensive setup. The bunker into second bunker, into replace the first bunker with a ninja bay, into turret ring. Notice this turret, I keep it back from the edge. Just in case he brings a Warp Prism here, I don't want to have a Warp Prism and then Stalkers killing the high ground missile turret that's on the edge here, then him being able to ferry in troops. It'll just get annoying. Means I'll have to pull back units from the front to shoo that away, and then maybe he can break through the front, depending on who's luckier, I guess. Yeah, it's just keeping this back a bit. And obviously a missile turret here would have been nice as well. Yeah. So this is how we open CC first. Survive with only single siege tank production into a fast third base. Once again, if we fast forward to say this point, pretty good setup. Planetary, some buffer marines, multiple siege tanks, and then your natural as a planetary as well. Yeah, so in terms of this build order video, that part of this video is kind of done, right? This is the part I wanted to share, how to open a very greedy fast three base opener. And this can get you, if you want to be massing battle cruisers or going into Thors or whatever sort of turtle play. You could even use this as a bio opener, I assume, right? You kind of just cut out the missile turrets and cut out this planetary and instead get your barracks production going instead. It could probably be like a greedy passive way to explode into mid-game bio. I don't know if that's actually viable or not. I'm just kind of saying that off the top of my head. But I think this is mostly a mech opener. What I'm going to continue from this point forward is showing you how I play, which is going to be Mass Widowmine and Mass Raven, pushing towards victory. And this is where I've gotten my 60% plus win rate from in Masters. Like I said, it's around 30% when I'm not able to open like this, which I can't on other maps, at least I haven't been able to figure out how to. But on this map, very high win rate. Yeah, so the way I do it is after, I build my 2 extra command centers I'm sending out to the natural and to the third, and then I take my gas geysers, and after that I start my production. And my production is going to be 2 more factories and 1 starport. The 1 starport is to build a single Raven, and it's going to be my observer hunter. Just kind of float around your main base looking for observers. Usually by the time you find one, you have 50 energy to kill it off. So we can keep them a little bit in the dark. The factories are to go into Widow Mines and Drilling Claws. And Widow Mines are quite important at this part of the game. Yeah, I've talked about this defensive setup being really nice, but if he maxes out and goes, which a lot of Protoss like to do, especially things like Charge Lot Archon or Charge Lot Archon Immortal. Some Protoss just kind of, once they reach that death ball, they're like, I've reached my win point, let's just go win. You're going to need more than just planetaries and siege tanks. And that's where the Widow Mines come in handy. Let's see, I got a couple here at this base and a couple more here. And then once you have some defensive ones, you can start sending out your Widow Mines. Yeah, and then after that, I'm going to go up to 4 starports and start my Raven production. You start Raven production once Corvid Reactor is 1/2 complete. That way all your Ravens, after your first one, will pop with the extra 25 energy. And we're going to be expanding a lot during this time. Don't be afraid to try ninja expansions. I kind of tried one. I put one here, actually, and spotted this as soon as I placed it. But yeah, expanding, Widow Mines, and Ravens. So Widow Mines you can use for other things too. You can put them at your own 4th and 5th bases to get rid of, to defend and to get rid of his, say, Zealot spotters. You can put some out in the middle of the map just to give you vision of where his army's at, if he's crossing the map or not. And then you can put some in his follow-up bases to block his expansion attempts. The Ravens are going to be used not for attacking his army, but for killing off his probes. So once you got your first batch of Ravens, I like to send them across the map, and we're going to queue up our extra Ravens. Well, it looks like I didn't do it this game, but usually I send my first batch of Ravens, say, along this edge of the map to maybe here, this dead space, and then rally my new Ravens to go along this edge of the map and hang out, say, here to harass his main in this base, and this one if he has it. And that's how you're going to use the Ravens. You hang out in the dead space, you kill probes, you go back to the dead space, you repeat that the entire time until he gets Stargate units. Now, you may get Stargate units before you even start this attack, but until you see Phoenix or Void Rays or Carriers, this is your goal. You'll always get lots of probe damage up until he forces him forcing you back. Looks like I tried to arrest here. Notice he didn't have the base yet. So just moving that Widow Mine forward to block it. These form rains from the early part of the game are just kind of holding for supply that could be used on better things. Raven's main goal is to shut down probes. Falling off his ramp to catch those probes. At this point I see that he has Phoenix, so I know that these Ravens are most likely 100% dead because Phoenix do bonus to light and they're like twice the speed to Ravens. So you don't see Phoenix too often, but when you do, just kind of spend all your energy because you're not making it home. But I was able to kill some Phoenix there and 19 probes, so I think that's definitely worth losing 4 Ravens over. Widow Mines, once you have happy with the defensive Widow Mines you have and the spotters you got on the map, you kind of want to kill probes with Widow Mines as well. So put them in his mineral lines whenever possible. Usually it won't be possible because you'll have some sort of detection, like a cannon that will both kill and detect them. If you can't do that, put it between his bases, say like here, or here, or here. And that will catch army transfers and they'll catch probe transfers while being outside of detection. Now, since I'm normally harassing non-stop with the Ravens, but because I'm facing a Phoenix cloud, I can't do that, so the Ravens have to stay back, hiding behind my missile turrets and Widow Mines. Here he's coming in for a big attack, which makes me feel like it's a good time to send out my Ravens to harass him. When there's Phoenix on the map, putting out like a clump of Widow Mines, or even building a clump of missile turrets randomly on the map, because you do have the minerals for it. Just building like, say, 4 missile turrets right here, or 4 missile turrets right here, or something like that. It gives you somewhere where you can come in, harass a base, and somewhere to fall back to protect your Ravens on the path home against these Phoenix, which would be able to gun them down. Looks like he's attacking in, but I did have Widow Mines and Planetaries, and obviously I'm getting the structure upgrades because it's good for PS, missile turrets, and auto turrets, all things I use a lot of. And since he's Protoss, he A-moved, so even though this Phoenix died basically to the missile turrets, even though they weren't participating in the attack. So he got the base down, but he took a lot of damage in the process, and my Ravens are now across the map. And I feel pretty confident that he lost the majority of his Phoenix, so going in to harass. Last two Phoenix are down. Does have more on the way though. This is what I'm saying with just random Widow Mines on the map, somewhere I can retreat to. So if he were chasing me during that time, I could lead him into the Widow Mines, which at minimum will keep your Raven safe. It also might pop a whole bunch of Phoenix. So again, got those Widow Mines between bases. That way I can catch probes and army transfers. If I ever kill a Nexus, replace it with a Widow Mine. If I ever wipe out his detection, when say I auto-turret harass this base, if I killed off this cannon, that's a good time to move the Widow Mines into his mineral line. It's just more things he has to deal with, more things to kill probes. Yeah, so the playstyle is kind of use mostly static defense to survive. Static defense and just taking lots of bases is how you stay alive. And punish him anytime he comes to attack you. You're harassing him hard. Even when he's not attacking you, you try to find areas to harass him with. You really want to just take out that economy. It's especially important versus carriers. If I'm facing a mass carrier army, like I'll put replays in the description below, or even videos where you can actually hold mass carrier with just static defense if you set it up correctly. But also if you're killing his economy, then his ability to make interceptors will actually be hampered because you can get him down to 0 minerals. You can see I had the spotters up here. I had a Widow Mine here he just killed, and right here. So I know that all he has is his 4th base here. That's his newest base. So once I see his army's out of position, I'm going to go ahead and harass this base. Got the Widow Mines covering my retreat. I even stay longer because I have so many Widow Mines there. I'm like, I wonder if I can just bait him in. I really want him to go after my Ravens. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to eat that pretty hard. So again, shutting down the economy at his newest base. Good time to throw some Widow Mines into this mineral line now. He did attack in. Normally this would be a good time to be counterattacking again with my Ravens because he's attacking one of my bases. But I kind of feel like I can win the game now. He took so much damage to those Widow Mines, and you know, he took some damage to these planetaries as well. That I think it's time to just try to chase him down with auto turrets. Auto turrets with structures that will actually block the pathing of Colossi as well, which is kind of funny. And with that, we kill off the vast majority of the remainder of his army. We kill off his 4th base. Moving Widow Mines to replace that 4th base. Same goes up top. These Widow Mines. Yeah. And then we just kind of win through attrition because his economy is completely dead now. So that is how I play Raven Widow Mine. It's not about engaging the army with the Ravens. It's about keeping his army home and punishing his bases if he moves out. Basically, this style is an anti-death ball style of play. It punishes anyone who keeps his army on one hotkey. Because if his army is always either completely at home or completely on the offense, then you always have something you can do to punish him with. If it's completely at home, then you're out expanding him, and you're still finding some ways to get harass done. If it's moving out, then you're doing way more damage to him than he's doing to you. Yeah, and I don't know many Protoss players who don't deathball. Like, how many times have you seen a Protoss player think, I'll keep 40 supply army here and another 40 supply army somewhere completely different? It's like, no, they have 10 years of training to teach them that keeping their army in one in one group is the best way to play Protoss. So it's pretty cool in that regard. Yeah. So that is my Raven Widowmine style, and of course the main purpose of this video was to show you my Cyber Forest build. Command center first, into fast third base with only one production structure active, and it's safe, greedy, and gets you to the high-tech portion of the game in a good situation. So with that, we'll call it the end of this video. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.